In this video tutorial, we'll demonstrate how to run the Dodeca Accelerator utility, which is packaged with every installation of Dodeca version 6 and dramatically reduces Dodeca's startup time, as well as improving the overall responsiveness of its user interface. In order to show you how the accelerator works, we'll need to upgrade and deploy Dodeca 6. So we'll also briefly run through the process of backing up a tenant and upgrading the Dodeca servlets. For a more in-depth tutorial on updating the Dodeca framework and servlets, see video 2 in the Additional Operations video series, Updating the Dodeca framework and servlets. There are 3 basic steps involved in updating Dodeca to use the accelerator utility. First, we'll back up our existing Dodeca tenants, making sure to export each tenant in the Dodeca system. Second, we'll install version 6 of the Dodeca framework and prepare and deploy the new servlets. Third, we'll run the accelerator utility from a command file generated by Dodeca. The accelerator performs a series of environment-specific optimizations on the client. As a result, it must be run with administrative privileges on each client machine to be optimized. In order to complete this tutorial, you'll need administrative privileges. For this tutorial, let's assume that we've already set up and deployed a Dodeca application. If you don't already have the Dodeca framework installed or an existing application deployed, you can omit the first few steps in this tutorial and start following along when we install the Dodeca framework version 6. If we check the Applied OLAP folder on the Start menu, you'll notice that we currently have version 5.3.1.2694 of the Dodeca framework installed on this computer. Before beginning, make sure that you've downloaded a current release of the Dodeca framework version 6 from Applied OLAP. We've saved a copy of a current Dodeca release, version 6.1.0.3142 to the desktop. Go ahead and launch your existing Dodeca application. We'll make note of the startup time of Dodeca version 5 on this machine so that we can have a point of comparison for Dodeca version 6. So on this machine, Dodeca version 5 takes about 20 seconds to start up. Because all Dodeca applications are stored as relational metadata, startup time is not in any way proportionate to application size. This means that a Dodeca application with 50 unique views takes the same amount of time to start up as an application with a single view. Our demo Finance Admin application has a single view, and if we check the About Dodeca Application Framework dialog, we can see that we're currently running version 5.3.1.2694. Under the Utilities menu, there are no Dodeca Accelerator tools in this version. The first thing we'll do is back up our Finance tenant, so that in the unlikely case that anything happens to our metadata during the upgrade, we'll be able to restore our applications. Note that unless you manually back up the entire relational repository, you'll need to export the metadata from each Dodeca tenant individually. From the Dodeca menu, navigate to Admin, Import-Export Utilities, Export Metadata to Local Zip File. In the dialog that appears, check the box at the top to select all existing metadata, and then press Export. Choose a location to save the tenant metadata, assign a file name, and then press Save. We'll save our metadata to the desktop as finance_5.3.1.2694.zip. Wait for the metadata to finish being exported, and then press Close. Now we can exit the application and proceed with the upgrade. We could uninstall the currently installed version of the Dodeca framework before proceeding, but we actually recommend installing new versions of the Dodeca framework in parallel. If you do wish to uninstall the previous version of the Dodeca framework, make sure that you save a backup copy of your dodeca.war and dodeca-sbase.war files with your exported metadata, just in case you wish to revert back to them for any reason in the future. Go ahead and install the new version of the Dodeca framework by opening the Dodeca release zip file and running the Dodeca framework 6.exe installer. The default installation settings should be fine, but if you need any additional information about installing the Dodeca framework, you can refer to the Dodeca installation guide shipped with Dodeca, or the 5-part Installing Dodeca video series here on YouTube. Now when we navigate to the applied OLAP directory from the Start menu, you'll notice that both the old and new versions of the Dodeca framework are installed side by side. Navigate to the Utilities folder within the new Dodeca framework directory, which in our case is Dodeca Framework 6.1.0.3142, and run the Jdbc test utility. Update the required values, test them by pressing Test Connectivity, and then, if your connection is successful, select Update Hibernate.Properties from the Tools menu. If you need any more information about the Jdbc test utility, you can refer to video 3 of 5 in the Installing Dodeca video series, running the Jdbc test utility. Again, from the Utilities folder of the new Dodeca Framework directory on the Start menu, run the Click Once Prep utility. Update the required values, and then press Build Deployment. When you're updating the Dodeca servlet, the most important properties are the version number and min required version properties. In order to ensure that the Dodeca client will be updated for end users, you must 1. Make sure that the version number specified by the Click Once Prep utility is higher than the version number specified for the previous Dodeca servlet. We recommend using the default value provided by the Click Once Prep utility, so there should be no reason to change the version number unless you've decided to use your own versioning system, or unless you had changed it to something other than the provided value the last time you used the Click Once Prep utility. And secondly, make sure, if you want to force your client machines to update the Dodeca Smart Client, that you set the min required version property value to the same value as your version number. In our case, we'll set the min required version to 6.1.0.3142, so that any client running a Dodeca version lower than the version we're about to deploy will be forced to update. If you need any additional information about the Click Once Prep utility, you can refer to the Dodeca installation guide shipped with Dodeca, or video 4 of 5 in the Installing Dodeca video series, compiling the Dodeca servlet. When the Dodeca servlet is finished being compiled, go ahead and exit the Click Once Prep utility by pressing Quit Application. Now, navigate to the location where the new version of the Dodeca framework has been installed and find the sbase directory. Navigate to the subdirectory that corresponds to the version or versions of sbase that you wish to connect to, and find the file named dodeca-sbase.war. Copy the dodeca-sbase.war servlet to the servlet subdirectory, alongside the newly compiled dodeca.war. Although copying the Dodeca sbase war to the servlet directory is not necessary, it allows you to keep a copy of the Dodeca sbase service with the Dodeca servlet along with which it will be deployed. Now that we have the new Dodeca servlet and our Dodeca-sbase servlet together in one place, all we have to do now is deploy them. In this video, we'll be deploying the new servlets with Apache Tomcat. If you're deploying the new servlets with Apache Tomcat, simply navigate to the location of your Tomcat installation and delete the old dodeca.war and dodeca-sbase.war files from the web apps subdirectory. Wait for the corresponding application directories to disappear, and then all you need to do is paste the new servlet files from the servlet subdirectory of your new Dodeca framework installation to the Tomcat web apps subdirectory. If you need any more information about deploying Dodeca with Apache Tomcat or another application server, you can refer to the Dodeca installation guide shipped with Dodeca, or video 5 of 5 in the Installing Dodeca video series, Deploying the Dodeca Servlet. Now launch a Dodeca application. In our case, the existing application Finance Admin will start up using the newly deployed Dodeca 6 servlets. On this machine, even before running the Accelerator, Dodeca version 6 starts up in about 10 seconds, which in our case is a 50% decrease in startup time over version 5. We'll start by launching our existing view, My Report. You'll notice that all of our recently used selectors have been preserved, and that our view builds as expected. To verify that the Dodeca servlet was updated correctly, we'll check the About Dodeca Application Framework dialog one more time. We can tell from the updated version number and build date that the Dodeca servlet has been updated to version 6. Now we're going to generate an installation command file for the Dodeca Accelerator and save it on the desktop. To do so, navigate to Utilities on the Dodeca menu and find the Accelerator tools. Click the tool labeled Save Accelerator Installation Command File and save the command file to a known location. Remember that you'll need administrative privileges in order to successfully run the Accelerator. Assuming you do have administrative privileges, go ahead and double-click the saved command file in order to run the Dodeca Accelerator in installation mode. Allow the Accelerator to complete its installation, which will take anywhere from a couple of minutes to half an hour, depending on the processing speed and RAM of the client machine. On this computer, which has a dual-core processor and 4 GB of RAM, installation will take somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 minutes. It's worth noting that the Accelerator utility can be run whether or not the Smart Client is running, so it can be run in installation mode during scheduled maintenance or by means of an administrative automation script. While we wait for the Accelerator to finish running, let's make a quick aesthetic change to our application by applying the new Office 2010 style packaged with Dodeca version 6. From the Dodeca menu, navigate to Admin, Import Metadata from Local Zip File. In the File Open dialog, navigate to the location of your Dodeca Framework 6 installation. Under the Metadata subdirectory, select the Metadata Starter Kit.zip and press Open. From the available pieces of metadata displayed, check only the box next to the item labeled Office 2010 Style _ Blue, and then click Import. Once Office 2010 style_blue has been imported, press Close. Now, from the Dodeca menu, navigate to Admin, Applications. Select the Dodeca Administrator console or any relevant application in your tenant, and then find the Appearances Properties category. Select the property Style Library Binary Artifact, and then click the button on the right. Choose the newly imported Office 2010 style blue, and then press OK. Then from the Application Style property drop-down, choose Office 2010. We'll make the same changes to our Dodeca User Console application, and then press Commit to save the changes to the database. Note that you can revert to Dodeca's default style at any time by returning to the application's metadata editor and setting the application style property to Office 2007, and then by setting the Style Library Binary Artifact property to a blank value. You'll notice that the Accelerator utility has now completed its installation. If you ever wish to remove the Accelerator's optimizations, you can simply navigate to Utilities from the Dodeca menu and select Save Accelerator Uninstallation command file. Before we restart Dodeca, let's briefly discuss adding the Accelerator tools to an existing toolbar. From the Dodeca menu, navigate to Admin, Toolbars Configurations. Start by selecting the Essbase Admin Console toolbar. You'll notice that in our application, the Accelerator and logging tools are part of the Utilities menu by default. This is because in Dodeca version 6, they're part of the Standard Tools and Toolbars collection. If we examine the Utilities menu in our Toolbars Designer preview window, however, we see that they aren't present. If you ever wish to add the Accelerator tools to an existing toolbar that doesn't contain them, you can follow these steps. With the appropriate toolbar chosen, press the Toolbars Designer button at the bottom of the center panel. If you navigate to the pop-up menu Designer, you'll notice that the Accelerator tools are not present on the list to the right. Go ahead and select the Utilities menu from the pop-up menu tool drop-down on the left. In order to add the Accelerator tools to a new or existing toolbar or menu, you'll need to import them from the available Standard Tools and Toolbars. To do so, press Import Standard Tools and Toolbars. From the dialog that appears, press Next twice to skip importing toolbars and pop-up menu tools. Then from the dialog labeled Select Tools, scroll through the list of available tools until you find Save Accelerator Install command file and Save Accelerator Uninstall command file, and select them. Press Finish to import the two Accelerator tools. The imported tools will now appear in the list on the right. Drag the Save Accelerator Installation command file and Save Accelerator Uninstallation command file tools over to the Utilities menu on the left and drop them. Then, select the Save Accelerator Installation command file tool, right-click it, and choose Begin a Group from the context menu that appears. This will add a separator to the pop-up menu. The Accelerator tools will now appear in the Tools tab of the Toolbars Designer as well, and they can be further customized from the Configure Tools dialog. Go ahead and press Close, and then check the Updated Utilities menu in the Toolbars Designer preview panel. We can commit the changes to the toolbar if we wish, but because the Accelerator tools are already accessible, I'll go ahead and quit the Dodeca Smart Client without saving my changes. Now when we restart the Smart Client, our applications will utilize the Office 2010 style blue and Office 2010 application styles. They will also take advantage of the speed optimizations installed by the Accelerator. On this machine, Dodeca version 6 with Accelerator optimizations installed takes about 5 seconds to start up. Down from 20 seconds with Dodeca version 5, this is a 75% decrease in startup time, which is slightly better than what we typically expect to see. Our report builds as expected, and you'll probably notice that Dodeca's UI elements and dialogues seem snappier and open more quickly as well. In the next video tutorial, we'll discuss some more sophisticated deployment strategies for the Accelerator, as well as how to modify the command line parameters used by the tools.